Everybody today. The first webinar the MBA has hosted in 134 years. So, interesting times call for new and adaptive technology. So, my name is Dave D'Acqualente. I'm the Master Builders Association Executive Director. I'll be helping to moderate the discussion today. I appreciate everybody's attendance and participation again. And for those that were able to submit questions in advance, we thank you. The goal is to leave enough time at the end for some questions and some answers with our panelists. If you do have any questions during the webinar as things come up, please use the question feature in the control panel. It should be, depending on the app or the version that you're using, it would be in the right-hand side of your control panel. But again, appreciate everybody being here today. We are fortunate to have representatives from all of our signatory labor union partners here on the call today, and we've got representatives from our contractors as well. Everybody's going to share a little bit about their experiences the last 3 to 4 weeks, their vision, outlook, what they've been communicating with their clients, members, employees, etc. And so I think it should be a great opportunity for everybody to have an open conversation and be able to listen to what everybody's been working on and working towards. Speaking of that, I think collaboration is key. It was in every single acceptance speech at our Building Excellence Awards at the end of February. And now more than ever, we are in a place where we need to find new ways and creative ways to collaborate and work together. It's not the time for us to professionally shelter in place. We need to continue to work and find ways that we can, continue to build this region safely and responsibly. So, as I mentioned, new challenges present new opportunities. The webinar for our team here at the MBA as a way to communicate and reach out and share. But I think it's also important that we all know that we have to get this right. We can't mess this up, whether you have projects that are up and running now, whether you are up and running in 2 days or 2 weeks from now. We have to continue to work together and put the safety and health of everyone and the projects in mind. So again, if you do have any questions throughout the webinar and the conversation here, please try to use the question feature within the app. And if you're having issues, please try to let us know through the chat as well. We'll be monitoring that. So mention the agenda. We'll go through the welcome and introductions, panelist discussion. I'll try to be brief here and get to everybody that we all came to listen to and talk with. But appreciate everyone's attendance today, and we will reference some materials and resources that we've got on our COVID-19 response page at the mbawpa.org. One in specific would be the recommended safety and health response plan for COVID-19 exposure mitigation, which is updated with new information and best practices whenever they become available. This is just one of the things that our team's been working on over the last 4 weeks to try to provide accurate, timely, actionable resources and information for all of our signatory employers and the industry at large. I do want to mention Bob McCall and his leadership pulling together an ad hoc risk management safety committee to really work on and create this recommended safety and health response plan. It's been picked up and utilized by different government officials and other folks around the state for its use in both response to disinfecting, cleaning, sanitizing, project shutdown, as well as startup procedures. And so we've been focused on that aspect, safety, and the process and procedure of helping everybody to operate safely. So I'll go through and introduce our panelists. We'll do it in alphabetical order, and again, ask them to take 3 to 5 minutes to share their experiences here and talk with both our contractor members and labor partners on the call today about what's going on within their organizations and their outlook here for not just now, but the foreseeable future. So I need to double check here. I don't know that we have Phil Amaris on the meeting, but he's supposed to be here. Hopefully he can join us. I don't believe we have Jim Kuntz either. But we do have Lee Mangus with the Eastern Atlantic States Regional Council of Carpenters. He's the Senior Managing Director here. Tom Melcher is a business manager of the Pittsburgh Regional Building Trades Construction Council. And Ken Harmon with the Cement Masons, Local 526. He's the business agent and recording secretary. Gentlemen, I'm going to go ahead and work here to unmute you, and hopefully you can share some perspective with us as we go through. So I will go ahead and pick Ken and Lee and Tom. Lee, it looks like you are, there you go, you're good, and Ken's good, and Tom, you should be good to go. So Lee, can you go ahead and share with the attendees today with your perspective from the Carpenters?
Sure. Thank you, Dave. Good morning, everyone. I just want to thank Dave and the entire staff at the MBA for putting this webinar together on short notice. I think this is a great opportunity for labor and management to discuss these issues and find ways that we can continue to work together as we work through this pandemic. So thank you to Dave and your staff. All the Eastern Atlantic States Carpenters Council offices are closed across our council. Our staff and admin have been working from home for the past several weeks. We estimate our level of unemployment here in Western Pennsylvania is approximately 75%. We are seeing a few more jobs getting started, mainly in the healthcare industry. Some of our heavy highway jobs should be starting back up here over the next few weeks. So we're seeing a little bit of a comeback on projects, but it's certainly slow. Our reps and staff have been reaching out to our 42,000 members across our council. Our goal is to try and contact every member, including retirees, to check on any needs or concerns they might have, answer any questions they have, give them answers to their benefit questions, generally making sure they're okay. And we're also directing them to our Eastern Atlantic States website for information, which is being updated daily with new information as it comes available. As we're making these calls, we're also putting together a list of our members that are willing and able to return to work. Many of our members have concerns about returning to work in this environment, which is understandable. So we're compiling a list of names of members that are interested in working. So we're prepared when these projects start to man up and we start getting calls for manpower. Our trustees have implemented some changes to the Greater PA Carpenters Medical Plan. Active members who are eligible in the medical plan in the current quarter, which started April 1st, are going to receive coverage at no charge for the next quarter, which starts on July 1st. We also reduced the quarterly charges for coverage by 10%. That's going to be effective October 1st. And we're going to be increasing our dollar bank limits on January 1st, 2021, and then again on January 1st, 2022. So we feel these changes are going to assist our members making it through these difficult and uncertain times. In conjunction with our international, we've developed a COVID-19 preparedness qualification online course. This has been put in place and is currently available. The information on this course was sent out to Dave yesterday for him to send out to the contractors. Our UBC members can take the course and test online, and after passing that test, their qualification will show up on their training verification card. But it's also open to all the contractors, any of their staff. Anyone can take the course and test using that information that was sent out to Dave yesterday. We feel that's going to be a helpful tool to educate everyone, help them to deal with COVID-19 issues and concerns as people start returning back to work, which is important that we're all on the same page with that. Dursey Exhibits, that's one of our local shops here in the Pittsburgh area. They've developed a system to manufacture and install temporary medical partitions. That system can be used to quickly erect temporary hospital rooms, treatment rooms, anything along those lines when overflow of patients becomes an issue. Dursey has a national network. They've got 6 fabrication and warehouse facilities across the country, and they're marketing this to healthcare providers and providing assistance as needs arise in the rapidly changing environment that we're in. Our council-wide ICRA team has been very busy under the direction of Ricky O. They've been actively reaching out to healthcare providers, offering our assistance with any needs, temporary facilities, temporary structures, providing them with lists of qualified contractors that have experience in the healthcare field, any needs for specialized equipment, and any other needs that our healthcare providers have. Over the past several years, our ICRA team has developed relationships and contacts in many of these facilities. So that's assisted us in reaching out to these individuals. That's kind of an overview of some of the things the Carpenters have been doing as we try to collectively work through this pandemic. So thank you.
Thanks a lot, Lee. I appreciate that. I think Jim Kuntz is on. Jim, if you're available and want to give your perspective, that'd be great. Jim, it looks like you're off mute, but I can't hear you right now. So we'll try to go to Ken Harmon, and I'll reach out to you on the phone, see if we can get this figured out. Ken, if you're available to go ahead and share your perspective from the cement masons, that'd be great.
All right, good morning, everybody. Just to mirror Lee, we're looking at the same thing as for work. We have a few members back in the healthcare with the hospital working. A few members going back to the heavy highway. I only got a few things on here that Cameron gave to me right before this started. I appreciate you guys allowing me to come on as well. He's kind of busy right now. I asked if I could jump on here real quick. As for international, they do have a link on our international webpage with COVID-19 information, also with benefits available to our membership with financial aid and things like that, different things they can do. As for us, we're working right now to update our local webpage with the same information that the international is putting out. Some additional information that we're looking to get on the webpage as soon as possible is from our medical insurance carrier on precautions our members can take either at home or in the field if they're working. Member concerns.
Hey, Ken, I think we're getting a message here that it's a little hard to hear you. I don't know if it's the phone connection, but if you could.
Is that a little bit better?
That is a little bit better. Thank you.
Okay, I'm sorry about that.
That's okay.
As for our members' concerns, the biggest concern they have is people taking the precautions that are set forth, taking them seriously when they come back in the field. What are some of the things that the contractors are going to be able to do to enforce these to make sure everybody's doing what they need to do. As for manpower, we do have members that are willing to go back to work right now. But for the most part, most of our members are looking to let this play out for a couple weeks. They're kind of following the CDC's recommendations of staying home. But I'm sure with everybody, we do have some members that are willing to go to work right now. That's pretty much all I have. Like I said, I got short notice on this. I appreciate you guys allowing me to jump on here. Thank you.
Sure. Thanks a lot, Ken, and I appreciate you clarifying there and getting closer to the phone. It was much easier to hear and understand you there at the end. Jim Kuntz is on. He can hear us. I'm hoping that we can hear him now. Jim, if you want to go ahead and share your perspective, that'd be great. I'm not hearing you, Jim. Phil Maris, I think you're on as well. I think you're on via phone. If you can share your perspective, that'd be great. Jim and Phil, we've resent you the panelist link. If you want to maybe try to log out and log back in with the new email link you got, hopefully we can have you on and everybody's able to hear you. So, Tom Melcher, if you want to share your perspective from the building trades right now, that would be tremendous while we try to work out some of these other challenges. So. Love technology when it works. Tom was on earlier and still shows that he's in the room. All right, so we'll move over to the contractors that are on the conference call right now, and we'll continue to work on the issues with the 3 of our labor panelists here in a second. So at this point, I want to go ahead and introduce our contractor panelists here on the call today. We've got, again, alphabetical order here, Drew Kerr, who's the Interiors, Special Projects, and Business Development Manager for Turner Construction here in Pittsburgh. We've got John Mascaro Jr., President and CEO of Mascaro Construction Company. Should have Stephen Massaro, President of Massaro Corporation on. I don't see him on the call right now. We've got Mike Penrod, Vice President of Risk Management and Labor Operations for Rycon Construction. And we've got Ray Volpat Jr. of Volpat Construction Corporation. So at this point, Drew, if you wouldn't mind, love to hear your perspective, what you can share with everybody from Turner. And we'll continue to work on the technical issues here with some of our other panelists. So Drew, you should be off mute. Please go ahead and share with the group.
Can you hear me, Dave?
Yes, I can hear you. Thanks.
All right, perfect. Good morning, everybody, and thanks for having me on here. I really appreciate being able to give our perspective of what we're going through, and glad to share it with the community and our industry. So thank you again for putting this together and having us here. Some perspective from our standpoint is right now, similar to, I would imagine, most people, a lot of our office and engineering on our project staff are all working remotely and trying to progress our projects forward more on the engineering and paperwork side of things right now, as most of our projects are in the shutdown mode, with the ones that are operating are on the healthcare side of things. And recently, we've gotten about 2 projects. We've received exemption letters from the governor's office, allowing us to get back up into the restart mode, which we're working through right now, trying to figure that out. To date right now, luckily, knock on wood, our Turner team has 0 COVID-19 positives, and we have 0 COVID positives or even close encounters within our project trade staff as well. So even though we're mostly shut down on the jobs that are ongoing, and within amongst our ranks here, we're very fortunate and lucky to not be dealing with any family or colleague related COVID positive issues. Right now, our team is working through a lot of supply chain analysis. We're reaching out to all the labor leaders that are on the call today and others throughout the industry, just to connect with the contractors and the individuals and understand how they're doing, understand their safety and security, and how their families are going through this on the financial end of things as well, and making sure that once this ban is lifted and our projects do get the ability to restart, we can come out of this in a positive format and not trying to play catch up. So, continuing the engineering activities, continuing to evaluate the supply chain, continuing to evaluate the labor situation, that's all ongoing on our projects right now through communication channels. Right now, our project teams are working to develop, COVID-19 mitigation plans that are project specific to each individual project, and sharing them with our ownership teams and our contractors that are contracted on that project to provide, communication and insight as to how we plan to mitigate future risks once the projects do restart, as we do see significant risk still being something that we have to deal with once the ban is lifted. We also, our company did develop a response plan for if somebody does come in contact or does test positive for COVID-19 once our projects are restarted, and avenues to communicate that to our ownership, our contractors, and our labor teams, and work through avenues to clean and sanitize the job sites and things like that, so that everybody's aware and can stay as safe as possible should that occur in a future scenario. Lastly, just from a regional perspective, we're seeing Ohio, New Jersey, Maryland, and DC. They all are in some state of shelter in place, but luckily for them, they are seeing construction is still deemed essential. So unlike us, they're still operating full board on construction. We were hearing New Jersey's governor is going to announce later today, that they're probably going to fall in with the Pennsylvania mandate and the New York City mandate of construction is life-sustaining and therefore only healthcare. Boston and New York, some major metropolitan areas, fully construction shut down, and only life-sustaining business, construction is ongoing, similar to us and here in Pennsylvania. And then nationally, it's pretty much all construction is deemed essential in most areas, including California. So it seems like just kind of us here on the Northeast are being constrained due to a full shutdown ban on construction, except for life-sustaining activities. So one positive, that came out of all of this. There's a lot of challenges, and I'm sure we'll talk through today. But one positive is that our New Jersey team actually did a virtual TCO walkthrough inspection, and the AHJ on that job actually passed and approved and issued a TCO based on a virtual inspection. So something to, innovative wise for everybody on the call here to think about as, we deal with PLI and L&I moving forward with the situation we're still in. That's it, Dave. Thanks again for having me.
Thanks, Drew. Really appreciate the feedback, both from here locally as well as regionally, what you guys have going on at Turner. Would like to try to have John Mascaro share his perspective now. So again, we're still working on some of the technical issues here with panelists that we're calling in via the phone, but hopefully we'll have everybody back up and running here shortly. So John, I'm gonna go ahead and unmute you. You may need to unmute yourself before you can. There you go, should be good to go. Thanks again, Drew.
Hello, David, can you hear me?
Yes, John, can hear you perfectly.
Yeah, I just want to thank you and the NBA and everybody attending for getting on. If there was ever a time for us all to work together, it's obviously that this is one of those times, and truly believe we will prevail by doing the right things. There's just a lot of stuff. We get bombarded with info each day, and we tried to simplify things on how how we handle things here at Mascaro. And we just kind of came up with a little purpose statement stating, really, the most important thing here is to protect our employees, their families, and the communities we work and live in. And that's been somewhat helpful on regaining composure with all the stuff that's coming at us. As we all know, the biggest challenge right now is really that we have no idea on how long this thing is going to be with us. And and it's just that's so unfamiliar for a construction company to work on those challenges, but that's kind of what we have to deal with. Currently, Mascaro's state of the company, we have 8 projects active, 31 shut down. The active jobs are 4 healthcare jobs, 2 manufacturing jobs, and 2 utility projects. So we're rocking on those. The challenge with those is, following all the guidelines to a T. And I think we're all dealing with this, especially a 6-foot social distancing challenge when you're on hanging a sheet of drywall or so forth and so on. So just last week, we adopted some rules on that. There's a supply chain issue. So we backed off a little bit off the N95s to just work bucking a 6-foot rule. It needs to be followed, but we're not going to have the N95 mask to do so. So we're coming up with other ways, including face shields, bandanas, and so forth. One of the other challenges, obviously, is the sanitization of a construction site. The jobs that we are active on, we went to a 4 10-hour work week because we had heard, and we believe it's somewhat true, that the project will sanitize itself if the surfaces aren't. We got the 3 days off, and it's like a sanitization for free over the weekend. That has been accepted by most of the owners. One of the other owners said, can't accept that. They brought in a sanitization company to do it, and I'd say it's about 50% legit or not. Some of the other challenges are, as we all know, is getting paid. We have 31 of our projects shut down, and just looking out into the future, I think I truly believe that most of the projects will move forward at some point. That timing issue, I really don't know. Feel relatively good about the financial strength of the customers that the jobs won't get canceled, but who really knows right now? Again, the timing thing, I keep going to that. We set up a task force about a month ago, and we've been quarantining folks, really from that first week, based on risk exposures, from a minimum of 5 days to a maximum of 14 days. Fortunately, everybody's been clear. We have no positive cases on that. Currently, we're working on a return to work plan, employee screening process, because we need to be ready to go back to work, and how we're going to handle those things. The challenges with those being there's just multiple challenges that we're all aware of, including the supply chain, again, with thermometers, which seems to be a widely acceptable screening methodology. Like I said, I just go back to I talked to 3 of our customers that the jobs are shut down over the past 24 hours, and they all want a return to work plan to be provided. And, from our perspective, it's 2 questions. The rules, we got to make sure we keep our people safe for sure, and truly providing that 100% of the time is one of our biggest challenges. And the other question, I'm glad our trade partners are on here, is are you going to get the manpower to, be able to come back to work and get this thing back on track? And that's really a wrap, David.
All right, thanks, Johnny. Yeah, I think the last question, I mean, you hit on a bunch of really good stuff, and I know we did get a question about one of the things you mentioned. We're going to try to hold questions until the end, but again, if you do have any questions for any of the panelists, other than, when are we going to get the IT tech problems figured out here with some of the panelists, we're working on that. But if you do have other questions, please submit them through the questions in the control panel, and we'll try to direct those here at the end. But thanks, John. I agree. I think it's a big question of when things are going to turn around, and also, the available workforce to get these projects back up and running and completed, and what we're doing. So thanks for sharing everything that you've been working on. We do have Steve Massaro, who is next in terms of our order for our panel here. So I'm gonna go ahead and unmute Steve. Steve, you may need to unmute yourself if you can do that, and then share your perspective here from your company. Steve, it looks like you are unmuted, but I can't hear you right now. Okay, I'll work with Steve offline here to figure out his audio connection problem here, and we'll go to Mike Penrod with Rycon Construction. Steve, I'm going to go ahead and mute you again. Mike, you are good to go.
Hi, Dave. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Want to thank the labor associations and the NBA for kind of pulling us all together here. I think it's a fantastic discussion for us to have and kind of share some ideas, experiences, and what everybody's working on. I think it'll help us all to, as a group, come out of the back end of this thing a little stronger. So thank you guys for that, and for the opportunity here. Rycon, our story sounds very similar to that of Mascaro. I believe we have 32 projects shut down right now. We're working on 5, all in the healthcare realm, 1 for utility. Our Philadelphia office, again, being in Pennsylvania, have no qualifying projects at the moment. Out in Cleveland, we're seeing projects shut down at the owner's discretion, but not by the state. So we're probably 70% capacity out there. And then Atlanta and Fort Lauderdale, construction's essential, and they're kind of full speed ahead. Again, with requirements of COVID-19 protections put in place for those jobs. In addition to that, we have a couple waivers hanging out, or waiver requests hanging out there to the state on a couple other projects that we really don't know. We put the waiver in, and I guess we'll find out here. From Rycon's response efforts, being involved in the establishment of the MBA and GCAP, program that went to the state, I think we're kind of all on the same page with our sanitization and our wash facilities and servicing of portable toilets. A few days ago, it dawned on me, my wife's a pre-K teacher, and the first thing those kids do when they come in the classroom is wash their hands. So we've implemented that too. All workers, as soon as they report, first thing they do is go wash up in case they grabbed a coffee or something on the way into work, and just one more measure we can put in place. For the social distancing, just as John mentioned, there's times and places where you cannot have 2 guys 6 feet apart and accomplish a task on a construction site. We're using our safety department for task hazard analysis. So we're getting out to our sites, and not just for Rycon, but for our subcontractors. We're getting together with the foreman and kind of going through their daily plan, what they need to accomplish that day. And then we're identifying the job tasks that cannot be done with a 6-foot distancing. And again, similar to what John said, our idea is, if we suit up in Tyvek, face shields, some type of cloth face covering, to protect those 2 employees or 3 employees, whatever they may be, from one another. That's been a pretty good process so far. I think we're seeing a lot of returns from our subs in that, we're taking the extra effort to try to help them work through it too. So that's been a very positive thing for our sites. Naturally, anybody feeling sick is sent home. We've got a policy at Rycon that anybody that calls off sick or anybody that goes home sick, we're upfront with everybody on the project. We keep them up to date. And fortunately for us, sounds like everybody else thus far, we've had sinus infections, bronchitis, flu, strep throat, but not a single COVID-19 diagnosis to date on any of our projects either, which is great. We like everybody else there, I assume everybody else, our work environment is kind of considered at will. We are signatory to the carpenters and laborers at Rycon. We're offering work that's available to our guys. We've got guys begging to go back to work. We've got guys respectively declining, given the current environment, and that's fine. I mean, we're in no position to command anybody to show up to work. We want the guys that want to be there, kind of thing. And then for every project that we've, if you want to say, kicked off or kicked back off, that we do, have the waiver on, We've done our project safety kickoff meetings with our safety department and basically just reviewed the plan with everybody on site. Just so that we feel like we're all on the same page. With that, there's some challenges. You know, I think everybody on here will acknowledge, you know, there's always that superhero on the job site that's immune to any and all and invincible. So getting the buy-in from everybody on site. I mean, this doesn't work unless everybody's following the plan. Subcontractor staffing, you know, we have some subcontractors that have just flat out said we're not sending our guys back to work. A business decision as a subcontractor, not as a trade union. Supply chain issues, I mean, I think everybody's seeing that. Some manufacturing's up, some manufacturing's down. Trucking doesn't seem to be a problem right now, but the actual fabrication of some items, imported controls and things like that from China are a problem. And then just, again, like everybody discussed, you know, the unknown of the timing and, you know, probably just as scary as the unknown of the financial stability of the owners and, you know, some of these jobs that we're halfway into, will they pick back up when this all breaks and come back for us? Not to mention pay apps and things that we have out there to owners right now that, you know, we're obviously hoping are going to be recognized and paid. You know, from Rycon's perspective, and you know, this is the safety guy part of me. I believe anything can be done safely if you plan it out right and you have the participation in the training. I don't think this is anything different than fall protection. You know, we can put the right measures in place and do the right training and get the right buy-in from everybody, and we can work as an industry. We can work safely through this. And then to some of the callers maybe that are completely shut down, have no active job sites, I would encourage you to use the NBA's resources, use the GCAP safety program, and begin to get something in place. Because let's say May 1st, this all breaks loose and construction becomes an essential industry again in Pennsylvania. The virus is not going to be gone. And these protections are going to remain, and they're probably going to remain through the fall, through the winter of next year, hopefully when a vaccine or some type of treatment becomes available. So, you know, don't have the approach that May 1st, hey, it's all clear, everybody's back to work, nothing ever happened, because I don't believe that's going to be the case. So I'd encourage you to work through the resources that the NBA has on their site, CDC and AGC has to have a plan in place so that you can hit the ground running on May 1st. I think that's all I got, Dave.
Very good. I appreciate it, Mike. We are going to try to have Ray Volpat share, and then we're going to jump back into some of the ones that we had technical issues with on the connection here. Being mindful of everybody's time, it is 11:43, so again, we're planning to go till noon, maybe a little bit over, but we do want to get to some of the questions. I appreciate those that have sent in questions in advance, as well as the few that we've gotten here during the session. So Ray, I'm going to go ahead and unmute you, and you should be good to go.
Okay, gentlemen, assuming that you can hear me.
We can.
Okay. So I'm going to try and keep it brief. I mean, a lot of what I would have to say would echo what Drew and John and Mike have talked about. Maybe what I'll do is give you some of the things that we're doing moving forward and a couple of past experiences and how they affected what we're doing. We do currently have 3 projects that are active. They are all healthcare projects. And each one of them actually had an incident where we had to either send somebody home or shut the job down. Very early on in the process, when COVID became an issue, we had an employee, a carpenter, who through several people down through his contact lineage, I guess you would say, found out that there was somebody who was COVID positive. and he called me and basically told me he was going to quarantine himself for 14 days. We ended up shutting the job down, calling the owner, telling them what had happened. We kept in contact with the owner, found out several days later that the person that he thought may have been COVID positive that would have been in his contact lineage had been tested and tested negative. So we were, all able to breathe a bit of a sigh of relief. He did not get tested because he was too far down in the lineage. That job is back up and running. We had a situation where somebody on a job site ran a fever. He was fine when he came in. We were testing on these projects for people when they got to work, whether or not they were running a fever. In the middle of the day, he had started running a fever. We had to send him home. This was at a cancer center up in Indiana Regional Medical. We notified their infection control personnel, and everybody on the job, including their infection control personnel, did a thorough sanitization of the project. He was tested and tested negative, thankfully. We had one other guy who stayed home from work because he was sick, did not get tested. It was just an intestinal issue that he had in the past. His doctor did not think that it was COVID. He is actually still off until next Monday. What we've done is to keep our employees safe sounds very similar to what we've heard in the past. One of the things that I have done is for those employees that want to work and are currently working, they're all carrying letters that I've written that explains that we are a construction company working on projects that are essential because they are healthcare related, and that they're carrying those in the event that they get pulled over by the police, asking why they're out when they're supposed to be home. Everybody who works in my office has option to work at home. If they decide to come in, they're carrying the letter as well. One of the things that we're telling our owners right now is that we are developing a back to work plan, and that plan includes the potential for an early start of May 1st. Certainly nobody knows what the future is going to bring, but we are notifying owners that the intent is to start back up May 1st if that is available to us by the state. Beyond that, there's not much else to add. I'm going to let maybe Steve or one of the other guys jump on, and no sense in repeating things that have already been said by other people. I do appreciate the opportunity to join you guys, and for all of you to be on here offering your opinions and your advice and your past experiences. I think this is going to be very helpful as we move forward in get back to work mode. So thanks, Dave. I can hand it back over to you.
Very good. I appreciate that, Ray. Thanks for sharing what you've gone through. I know early on you were one of the contractors that thought there might be some potential exposure, and what you shared with us early on about just tracking back through contact and high, medium, or low risk exposure, early on was definitely important. So thanks for sharing that then and now. We're going to try to have Steve Massaro share his perspective here, and then if we can connect with one or both of our labor partners here that didn't get to, we'll do that, and then we'll get into question and answer. So Steve, I'm going to go ahead and unmute you. You should be good to go, Steve.
Okay, thanks. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Thanks a lot.
Okay, thanks. Thank you today. Thanks to the MBA. Thanks for everyone. Really good to hear everyone's feedback. So I won't regurgitate because it's all good information, so I won't repeat a lot of things that have been said. It's very helpful, though. I will give a perspective, though. We had 33 active projects. Currently 33 were active, and now 12 are active. So, and they all are healthcare related. But I will talk about our, when we're a construction manager on K-12 projects, they got a waiver or an order from the governor that they're exempt and they are a school district decision. So this past Monday, we went back to work at a couple different local school districts, North Allegheny and Franklin Regional. Prior to COVID, there were 30 workers on site. As of this morning, there are 10. Franklin Regional, bigger project, there were 50 plus workers. There's somewhere around 12 to 15. So you're getting a fair amount of individuals that are deciding not to go and not to jeopardize themselves or their family members or anyone else. We also have a couple of customers that surprisingly, you would think inherently they would say, absolutely, let's apply for a waiver. But many of them said, let's not. Let's wait for this to play out. It's not the right thing to do ethically, morally, or we gotta take a deep breath on our cash position to figure out where we are. So I just wanted to share that in an effort to save time. I will share one more thing. Another one of our CM projects up in the State College area, the general contractors requiring face coverings for every worker, which I think is interesting. And if they're not doing it, they're asked to leave the site. Whether that's excessive or not, I guess could be debated. But as Fauci has said, if you think you're being paranoid, you're probably doing the right thing. So that's all. I'll turn it back over to you, Dave, to keep the program moving.
Okay, I appreciate that, Steve. Thanks for sharing that. I know the face mask, cloth, whatever you can get, certainly has changed recommendation-wise in the last week or so, and so that's good information to know what's going on that particular project. So again, we're going to try one more time here to connect with some of our labor partners. I'm going to try to unmute Jim Kuntz, and hopefully we can hear what he has to share about the operating engineer's perspective here. Okay, Jim, you're off mute. Hopefully we can hear you on your phone.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
All right. Technology's great until it isn't. So
That's right.
Just very quickly, for the operating engineers, I think most of you were aware, we sent a notice out. We actually shut all our offices down the day before the governor's order. We're in a good position to work remotely from home. We continue to operate. So for any of you or our members that are working for you, if they have questions, they can call in and leave a message to their district office or the main office, or send an email, or even post it on our Facebook page, and we will get back to them in pretty short order. Our funds office is up and operational, though on a modified schedule. It's open Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, so that there's no interruption in benefits, that we take care of hospitalization, which is critical, and pension checks and access to annuity funds for any of our members that should need it. And again, all they have to do is call in, or you as an employer have a question, call the funds office. There's a menu there, and you can get to talk to the appropriate person. In addition, we're trying to educate the members about the virus, primarily through Facebook. We just got our magazine to the printer. They're considered, there are a lot of functions, so it should be going out in the mail. There'll be some information in it. We've been working with primarily the Heavy Association at this point, while the waivers were going on in working on return to work. There have been a large number of pipelines, heavy jobs, and some building jobs that have gotten waivers, and we've been working with those contractors, and a lot with the Constructors Association on, how do we return to work and what's the employer's obligation to protect our membership. And that's been going well by and large. A couple things that we're learning in the last couple of weeks as this work ramps back up is that, no matter how many questions we ask and the fact that you take their temperature when they show up for work, you do have community spread by people that are asymptomatic, that have no idea they have the disease. And I can tell you in the case of a pipeline job in Beaver County, they ramped up a little over a week ago. And since then, 3 individuals, an operator and 2 laborers, have been sent home. I believe the laborers may have tested positive for COVID. I don't know that the operators' results are back. I will say one thing, that employer did not do a good job in enforcing social distancing. He was plowing people onto pickup trucks and taking them out to the right of way. So we're going to be paying more attention to that, just to make sure that our members are protected and, insist on social distancing and sanitization. For the operator, we're kind of self-distanced by nature of what we do. But, we do have concerns about how do you sanitize the cab. If you got multi-shifts, that's typically, on the heavy side of work with a couple of these big road jobs that are starting up. But we're still going through that, figuring out, between shifts how we're going to clean those cabs. But we're working on it. One other concern that has come up, and we've had one occurrence, was, if our member does go back to work and on the building site, sometimes that employment can be short. A crane operator goes out, makes all the lists necessary, and then they lay that individual back off. Then he's back into that deep, dark hole of unemployment compensation and the challenges of getting it again after spending, several weeks trying to get it right now. So, I'd ask employers, if you're going to bring an operator back, let's try to keep them employed, because if you lay him off again, it could be weeks before he or she gets their next check. The other thing we're working real hard on is getting extensions to all the certifications that we're required to carry in the industry: CDL licenses, OSHA, crane certifications. There's a whole list. We've been working with Harrisburg and with the international, with the federal government, to get all those certifications extended, because you can't get a test right now. So we're doing what we can do. We're supporting getting back to work. We just want to make sure that it's done on the right kind of jobs and in a really responsible manner. So if you have any questions for me, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thanks, Jim. I appreciate it. I'm glad we were able to get you connected here. I think you shared some really good information, and especially some information about what's been going on certain sites and certain projects and certain behaviors. So thank you. At this point, I am going to kick it over to Bob McCall. We mentioned earlier the response plan and mitigation efforts that he had put together. If there's anything that he's either picked up on today from the conversation or wanted to share in general with everybody on the line, let him speak for a minute or two here, and then we'll get into the questions and answers. So again, I appreciate everybody's participation and bearing with us as we had some of the technical issues. So Bob, I'm going to go ahead and unmute you. I think you need to unmute yourself. Bob, we can't hear you if you're talking. All right, so I think we're going to kick it into the questions and answers at this point. I'm going to go ahead and ask Eric Starkowitz from our staff to share some of the questions and direct those accordingly. I'm going to open up all the panelists' microphones, so if you need to unmute yourself, please go ahead and do that. Do that now. Eric, you're on, you've muted you. There you go.
Thanks, Dave. All right, so we do have a number of questions here today. Thank you for those that sent them in advance. If you have any questions that came up during the conversation today, you can still submit those. I'll try to keep an eye on the list as we work through these ones. A couple I think that can be answered relatively quickly. We'll start off with those. The first one is, I guess, directed for John Mascaro and Ray Volpat. Are you able to share the name of the company or companies that you brought in to sanitize your projects?
So we didn't bring a company in to sanitize our project. The project that we shut down in Wheeling was shut down for about 8 or 9 days, and the hospital informed us that they were comfortable with that project being cleaned by our own personnel, since it was shut down for a pretty extended period of time. On the other job where we had to sanitize, it was self-sanitized, and we had the hospital's infection control personnel there sanitizing with us, so that they were comfortable with the level of sanitization that was occurring. So we did not have an outside source for either one of those two projects.
And how about you, John?
I'm trying to find a name. I'm looking through my email right now. Could I just follow up with that? There's one that's on the tip of my tongue that I just can't find right now. And there's one other outfit. I'd be more than happy to share that.
Sure thing. We'll check back in with you.
Yeah. And Eric, I'll share because I
This is
know
Mike
Bob
Penner.
can.
Let me
Mike,
plug
okay.
Bristol Environmental fellow MBA
Yeah,
member.
thank you.
Thanks. Was that Mike?
Yeah.
I actually have a question that you might be able to address, or Bob McCall, and it's regarding Tyvek suits. And just someone wanted to confirm if those are to be disposed upon after each day's use, or if it's a time period greater or less than that.
So for us, we're using them for our person that is our constant sanitization guy, who's just walking around nonstop sanitizing, all the high touch surfaces and things on each site. So he's wearing his daily. And then the other application that we're using them for, like I said, is the tasks that require guys working within 6 foot of one another. And at that point, we try to encourage to tackle all those tasks at the same time while wearing the suit, and then you can take it off for the day. So if a HVAC guy has 3 VAV boxes to get up, instead of doing one, running piping, doing another one, just do all 3, and then we can take away the within the 6 foot requirement, and they can de-suit and move on with their day.
And those suits are then disposed of.
Correct.
Okay.
And that's purely, it's kind of like the face covering thing. It's just purely, hey, you're going to be close enough with another person that if they cough or sneeze or spit or whatever, we don't want anything on your clothing that you're going home to your family.
Sure. All right. So I have a question here for the contractors. How have you handled office staff? Have you done any furloughs? And if so, what percentage do you still have working?
Eric, I'll go ahead and answer that first. I have furloughed nobody. Everybody has the option to work from home. We actually, I kind of saw this coming about a week before the governor shut everything down. So I got my IT person involved and had him set everybody up with what they needed to work from home if they decided they wanted to do so. We have our office staff is only 10 people. We actually have 5 of them today here at the office. On any given day, there's anywhere between 3 and 5 people working here. I'm basically coming in every day. My accountant is coming in every day because I deem as an essential employee for keeping the business running, and he prefers to be here working. Our office is also big enough that we can spread out and we're not on top of each other and maintain 6 feet distance. And we do a lot of wiping down of surfaces as the day progresses. But no, I have not furloughed anybody. And yes, I did make application under the Paycheck Protection Program. So,
Eric, it's Steve. We furloughed effective this past Friday about 20 people across our CM group, construction group, restoration group, and real estate group.
Mike Penrod, Rycom, we similarly, I think we had 21, and that was across all of our offices combined.
Yeah, we're
Eric.
about, as Mascaro, we're about at a dozen, but we're expecting, similar to Ray on the CARES Act. Those groups, we are running out of work. There's actually jobs bidding. There's pre-con work we're taking advantage of. There's a couple strategic initiatives, but I don't know how much longer that can last here. So we're taking like on a week by week basis with about a dozen furloughed this week.
All right.
Hey, Eric,
Ray,
it's Drew.
Yeah,
Yeah,
go ahead,
same thing. Right now, we don't have any furloughs, but similar to what John said, we're evaluating on a week-to-week basis as this thing continues to go on.
Great. Ray mentioned the Paycheck Protection Loan program. We've had several questions about that. I think this one kind of catches the gist of some of the concerns. Should we / can we include our union employees in our Paycheck Protection Loan calculations? I don't know.
Was that a question that somebody
It's from a contractor. Yes, that was from one of our general contractor members in advance. I guess not that we have anyone that's an expert on that, but maybe some of you have gone through it and can say what you're doing.
Yes. So when we did our calculation, and we spoke to our accountant and also to our bank, when we did our calculation, they told us, yes, you can calculate. So you're calculating based on the past 12 months of employment, which we used as the months from March this year through back through April last year. And we did use our union employees. You can also use the benefits, the union benefits that include the pension, because it is a retirement benefit, and the medical. You can also use the your employer's medical benefits as part of the calculation. Let me see what else is there. Gross salary wages for anybody if anybody makes over $100,000, you have to cut them off at $100,000. Commissions and bonuses can be included. Just looking through the list here. Employer paid state and local taxes assessed on compensation of the employee as well. So the paycheck protection, it covers a very wide range of what you can include. I
Yeah,
hope
thanks,
that
Mike.
helps.
All right, I'm just being told we have 5 minutes and we're going to get cut off. So it looks like I have 2 more questions, and we can take these to the union side perhaps. Let's see if I can combine a couple of them. So the first question is, what are the unions and union employees going to do about healthcare benefits and retirement benefits if this continues for, say, 2 months or more?
This is Jim Clinch with the operators. As far as we're concerned, you know, and I think every trade is different, so it's going to be different for each. For my membership, work has been good for a number of years, and we have the ability to build a reserve, which many of my members have in their welfare fund, their health care. So, you know, they should be good, many of them, for a while on their health care. They use that reserve to pay for benefits. In addition, we have a plan too that's major medical, but without prescriptions. And we also have the ability to self-pay in order to get them. On the pension, even though our fund has taken a decent, you know, has taken a hit, at this point, we still feel that, you know, if we begin to recover the second half of this year, that our pension fund should stay in the green zone. So it's not going to be a problem. We were in really good shape, as you know, we have some people from the master builders as trustees. Our fund was in pretty decent shape. It took a hit, but at this point, we think we are going to be okay. You know, we'll have to climb the hill again to get back to, we were close to fully funded. So for us, that's where we are at for our funds.
Well, thank you. Well, it looks like most of our questions, at least in some form that remain here, were covered to some degree by, especially by Ray's answer on the paycheck protection. So I think.
You know, let me add, Eric, let me add one thing to that. When you answer that question to other contractors, I can't stress enough the importance of reviewing things with both their accountant and their bank.
Mm-hmm.
To make sure that they get it right and to make sure that they're able to access, all of the funds that might be available to them. Don't try to do it yourself.
No, I think that's excellent advice. I mean, obviously throughout this, as things have changed 24 to 48 hours, seemingly every few days, you know, checking in with your legal counsel, with your accountants, finance advisors, and especially with your bank from a lending perspective. It's good to keep those people close and informed and have conversations with them regularly. So, Eric, do we have any other? Sorry, go ahead.
Hey, I was just going to mention, I mean, labor unions were specifically excluded from the paycheck protection loans because we're 501c5s instead of 501c3s. But for both us and for employers, there's also economic injury disaster loans. You can get that at a low rate of 2.75%. That has to be paid back, but the first $10,000 can be forgiven under a lot of circumstances. So that's something that we may take a look at, and I know that might be also something the contractors want to look at.
Yeah, that's a good point. From a 501c6 standpoint, as an association, we're also excluded from the PPP portion as well. So, well, good. Well, at this point, I appreciate everybody's attendance and participation today. Look forward to having more of these in the future and working out some of these connection issues and challenges. But thanks to everybody that participated today and those that were able to attend as well.
Thank you, Dave.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dave.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dave.
Thanks, guys.
Okay.